Tell us about this tour that took you around New Zealand to all these amazing sites.
It was a tour with, we had 13 people all up, so there was 2 non-shooters, so they were partners of the photographers that came along, and we had the 2 leaders, so Richard and Levin, and they just took us to all these amazing places. But like Justin said too, it's the travel to and from those places that's just as special, and the lunches and the dinners and the really fancy breakfast, that was just as special. But I've met some really gorgeous people. I learned so much. We had 2 in the group that probably hadn't done a lot of photography. They were sort of just starting out. So for them, it was a really steep learning curve, but they dealt with that really well. The others had all been photographing for a number of years. So I learned something from everyone, as I did in Tassie earlier in the year as well. So it was just really special. And I'm sure I've got lifelong friends out of it. We went to some amazing places, from the Meraki boulders to the lighthouse to Lake Tenau. We just, so many beautiful spots that they cased out in previous trips that they found.
Where did it start and end? Like, where did you fly into? What was the process?
Okay, so I flew into Christchurch, and then we had a dinner the night before. We got picked up by the big bus on the Monday morning, and then we set off. So we basically did a loop through the South Island. We went to that tree, that Wanaka tree, and we did the Mount Cook. We went to Mount Cook, Lake Tekapo, the lighthouse. We saw the seals that are just on the beach, and you just photograph them from 2 meters away. The Meraki boulders were very special. And I think this is the thing, again, that I learned that really reiterated for me, was that the elements aren't always going to work in your favor, but you've just got to make them work for you at the time. Whether the sunrises that we had, we didn't always see the sun, but it was still really special to be there, and some of the cloud formations will still make a fantastic photograph. So it was just a really eye-opening trip, and I'd never been to New Zealand. So for me, it was like a double whammy, really. It was just beautiful. I loved it. I'm going back.
Going back?
I'm going back. But I actually did a tour with them, with Richard and with Levin in Tasmania in April. And that's when he mentioned this New Zealand tour. So I'd had no hesitation. I just jumped straight on.
How do you find these tours? Can I Google it now? Do they have a website? Whose website's it on?
It's on Rare View Photography. So this year is the first year that Levin and Richard have done tours together, and I think it will be an ongoing thing. Levin, interesting story, he's a pilot, a Jetstar, and he's nearing retirement, and he's trying to find something to do in his retirement. So this is what he's going to do for his retirement, to keep him occupied. So, yeah, it's really cool. Super cool. And I learned a lot, and I thought I knew quite a bit about landscape photography, but you're always learning. And once you stop learning, I think, is once you're at the end of the road with photography. That's just my personal view. I think you always keep learning, and you keep changing things, and you just keep doing things a little bit differently. And like I walked away with a move, shoot, move nomad. What do you do?
And so with the tour, were the flights were included in the package?
No,
or do you get yourself there?
You get yourself to Christchurch. Look, it's not cheap. It probably cost me 10 grand to do the tour, which is a lot of money, especially now I'm married. I've got a husband, and he didn't come with me. But honestly, I still loved it. And it combines 2 things that I really love: travel and photography. And so it was a very special. And the reason why, look, with Richard, when we did the 2019 tour with Richard up in Rostrada, we had a guy from New Zealand on that workshop with us, and Richard had collaborated with him to go over to New Zealand to do a tour. And I jumped on that tour straight away. Like, there was no questions asked. And so we were booked to leave the country on the 19th of March 2020. And guess what happened on the 19th of March 2020? So
world shut
I couldn't, we shut
and
down.
that was right. Like, that would have been
like 3 days before.
Right as it was happening. Like, that wasn't even, because that's about when. It was March, wasn't it? In February, it was just... It was just there's this thing.
And it all started happening. And I remember ringing Richard on the Saturday before going, hey, what are we doing? Like, this is starting to look a bit like we could get stuck over there. He goes, well, at this point, we are still going. And then on Sunday night, they closed the borders and he sends me a message, goes, well, it's off now.
I guess we're
not going.
Poor Richard.
I know. So then I rang Richard in September last year. I was on holidays and I've been doing some photography, and it just jumped in my mind. And I thought, let's touch base with Richard and see if this New Zealand trip is still happening. He said no, it wasn't, but he was doing something with this other guy, and they were going to Tasmania. And that's how I ended up in Tasmania, and that's how I ended up in New Zealand. And that's how I'm going to end up in Norway in 6 years when he's going to do his trip to Norway.
in 6 years.
6 years, wow. You really plan ahead.
But that was discussed. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, tours are it for me. I enjoy it. Thoroughly enjoy it. I do always go shopping after a tour, though, which is a bit expensive, but, you know.
When you've already invested that much money, what's a little more?
Yeah, it's funny because we're like,
I agree.
Go on a tour instead of buying a new lens. Then you come back and you're like, I need to buy some stuff.
A new lens.
Yeah, I already bought the new lens before I left New Zealand. So there you go.
Gosh.